Everybody, it's your pal, Sleaze Grinder. I want to talk about rock and roll for a minute. Today, I want to talk about what is probably the most culturally significant unearthed artifact of the decade so far. I mean, that's a little hyperbolic, but not much. I am talking, of course, about the Manny Tapes by the Misfits. So here's how the story went: is that Manny Martinez was the Misfits' third drummer, joined in 1976. First drummer to record with the band. They, of course, did the Cough Cool single. That point, it was Glenn Danzig on organ and vocals, Manny on drums, and Jerry Only on bass. Now, at the time, they were playing live gigs. They had a whole roster of songs that they were rehearsing and they were playing live that never got a studio recording. And a lot of people, that were around at the time knew some of the names of these songs. They knew that they existed, but they were unheard of unless you were there at the time. But the story has always been is that Manny was very fastidious when he was in the band as far as documenting goes, and he recorded, the story goes, is that he recorded all their practices and he recorded the live gigs that he played with them, and that he had, piles and boxes of these tapes somewhere in his home, waiting to be popped open and enjoyed by the world at large. And that was just the story for decades until sometime last year when, lo and behold, a couple of these tapes, in fact, unearthed. I don't know too much about the actual origin of how they ended up on YouTube. A friend of mine, Jeff Crazy, formerly of the Browns, Ski Mask Band, he told me that he had heard, man, he played these tapes over the phone for someone, and that person had recorded the songs via phone, which would be one explanation for the lo-fi sound. The other being, they were probably recorded on boom boxes in the late 70s, so, how good are they all going to sound? They weren't made to be listened to by the general public. They were recorded for the band's own edification. So what do we got here? Well, that's the exciting thing about this because, besides some of the early Misfits songs that they were working out, including what I consider their best songs, Last Caress and Hybrid Moments, as well as what I consider their worst song, Angel Fuck, they had this clutch of songs that none of us had ever heard before. And that is exciting news for all of us. Misfits fans are incredibly loyal and incredibly invested in the band. So this was like manna from the heavens for a lot of people. This has been, like I said, it's on YouTube, but it's also been heavily bootlegged in various forms. Most notably, in 2 volumes of vinyl. And I don't know, man, I saw volume 2 at the record store a couple weeks ago going for about $47. So you're talking about at least $90 for the 2 of these. And again, you're talking about, ripped MP3s from a fuzzy cassette, 40 years ago. I don't know if it's worth $90 to get a bootleg vinyl of this stuff. I am not in my vinyl era anymore anyway. I am now in my cassette era because I can no longer afford the extortionist prices of new vinyl. So I got the cassette version. There you go. This is from TPOS. It's a great tape label in, I think, Connecticut. You can get them on Bandcamp. You can get them on Discogs. Works just as well as the vinyl. I'm sure it's the same source. Anyway, so the new songs, the songs that you haven't heard, what are they? What are they about? I'll give you some of the titles. Let me just look at this here. Here's some exciting titles for you. Feline Nursery, which became Spinal Remains. Border on the Waterfront. Infant Stranger. West End Avenue. Marble Index. Harpies in the Night. And Steppin' in the Wind. So what do these songs sound like? I can understand why they never got a proper recording, because not that they're bad songs, but because they are Glenn Danzig's Jim Morrison affection is quite pronounced in these songs. Probably the eeriest of the bunch is Marble Index, but that one also sounds the most like a Doors song. It honestly sounds like a Doors tribute band, trying to work through the arrangement on one of the songs. So I can see why, because a year later he had got a guitar player, and he was like, let's take the Doors, let's ditch the organ, but let's mix up some doo-wop and some punk rock and see what we got. And that, of course, became the classic Misfits sound, although a lot of people really enjoyed the Cough Cool sound as well. So for those people, they're really going to love this. I think for everybody, it's pretty exciting stuff. There's a lot of people that seem to be trying to clean them up in various ways, using Suno or going, Audacity or whatever, and trying to clean up the tapes, which is fine. I'm sure that you can get a higher fidelity out of it if you really want to. But if you want the rough and raw version, it's there for you to check out. And quite honestly, it's super exciting stuff. What the songs are about, what the lyrics are, all that kind of stuff. If you want to dig in, Reddit, YouTube, etc., etc., it has been, these tapes have been forensically drubbed and inspected and examined. So you can certainly while away an afternoon or two getting further into the Manny Tapes. But that's the basic overview, is that there's new, old Misfits for you to check out. And until the Danzig police show up and shut it all down, it's out there for you to grab. Check it out. Manny Tapes.